Cú Chulainn is one of Ireland's most famous and powerful warriors. He was an accomplished spearman and fighter. Through his journeys, he was able to meet nobles, warriors, and mighty heroes. His mother was the charioteer Dectine, sister of the King of Ulster, Conchobar mac Nessa, who fled the capital of Ulster to be with her true love, Lug, the god of skill and mastery in the arts, and is also the god of oaths, truth, law, and rightful kingship. One night, the King of Ulster and his hunting party were hunting a flock of magical birds. However, a snowstorm came in quickly and overtook the party, forcing them to find shelter. The nearest home welcomed them in as family, as it belonged to Dectine and Lug. Dectine was with child, and the party was forced to stay a while as the storm raged. On the last day of the storm, Dectine and Lug had a son, Setanta. As Setanta grew older, he spent more time in the capital with his uncle, the king. As a child, he one day begged to be allowed to join the troop of boys wanting to be soldiers for training, but was told no, as he was the king's nephew. So Setanta went off on his own and tried to join the troop of boys, who declined him access to their warrior band. When Setanta refused to back down and told him he would join them, the boys attacked him. It was then that Setanta flew into a furious rage called the warp spasm, his once serene face contorted with fury. He defeated the other boys single-handedly, however. The king then saw this and was able to calm the young man down. After hearing about this, Chulainn, the royal smith, invited the king to have a feast at the smith's home to discuss what had happened. However, he was also impressed with Setanta's skills, so he invited the young man to join them as well. However, King Conchobar forgot about the feast and showed up late. Chulainn, thinking that the king and Setanta were burglars, unleashed his giant wolfhound upon the pair. Setanta flew back into the warp spasm to defend himself and injured the hound. The poor dog was hurt and was unable to perform its duties as the household protector, and Chulainn was distraught at the injuries that his faithful companion had suffered. Setanta, racked with guilt, promised him that he would act as the home's guard dog and protector. The druid Cathbed, who was in attendance at the feast and was the royal druid, then announced that Setanta's name shall henceforth be known as Cú Chulainn, which means Chulainn's hound, and thus gave him the nickname the Hound of Ulster. After the hound recuperated, Cú Chulainn went back to the capital and overheard Cathbed teaching his pupils about how important that very day was. Cathbed knew that any boy in the area who would take up arms would have everlasting fame and glory. Before the lecture was over, however, Cú Chulainn ran to his uncle's home and asked for any weapons he may have. Not knowing what day it was, Conchobar gave Cú Chulainn a weapon, but the boy broke it with his prodigious strength. Conchobar tried again, and again, and again, but none of the weapons in his storehouse could withstand Cú Chulainn's divine power. It wasn't until Conchobar gave Cú Chulainn his own weapon that the weapon was unbroken. However, Cathbed came into the king's hall and saw Cú Chulainn holding the king's sword, and he began to weep. When the king asked the druid why he cried, Cathbed told the king that Cú Chulainn hadn't heard all of the prophecy for that day, and that any boy who took up arms would have everlasting fame, but he would also have a very short life. So Cú Chulainn decided to acquire as much fame as possible in his short time on earth, and at 7 years old, he took one of the king's chariots and set off to assault the 3 sons of Nectan-Sin, who had been boasting that they had murdered more Ulstermen than there were currently living Ulstermen. Cú Chulainn stopped at the home of the 3 sons, and rage overtook him as his warp spasm took hold. He quickly defeated the 3 brothers with little problem and took them back to Conchobar mac Nessa's court to stand trial for their misdeeds. However, when he arrived home, he was still raging and fuming, attacking anyone who got near the chariot. The men of the area had to forcefully tackle Cú Chulainn and dunked him in a barrel of water. The water steamed and the barrel then exploded with force. The men then dunked him in a second barrel of water to cool him off, but it created such a boiling storm that it scalded the men. The men finally had to dunk him in a third barrel of water, which cooled the young man down entirely and calmed his temper. As Cú Chulainn grew older, he was considered to be so handsome that the Ulstermen worried that their daughters would fall in love with him on sight. Knowing the prophecy of Cú Chulainn's short life, the men tried to find him a suitable wife to settle down with. However, Cú Chulainn had already fallen in love with Imir, the daughter of Forgal Monach, who was the lord of the Laglachta Loga, or the Gardens of Lug. When Cú Chulainn came to ask Forgal Monach's blessing for the marriage, Forgal told Cú Chulainn that the only way he would be allowed to marry Imir was if he was able to convince the renowned warrior woman Scathach in Scotland to train him, and then complete her training. Cú Chulainn accepted immediately and made for Dunscaith, the Fortress of Shadows, which was Scathach's home. When Cú Chulainn finally made it to Dunscaith, he was asked to announce himself at the door. Upon hearing the name Cú Chulainn, Scathach immediately took him on as a student. Cú Chulainn was taught alongside Ferdiad, who became his closest friend and foster brother. The two trained day in and day out to become the best warriors in all the land. During this time, Cú Chulainn was able to master the spear, Gae Bolg, a magical spear that erupted into spines whenever it pierced its target and could be launched by kicking it like a missile. Towards the end of Cú Chulainn's training, Scathach's twin sister, Aif, attacked Dunscaith, trying to prove that she was the more powerful warrior. Knowing that Cú Chulainn would attack Aif to protect Scathach's honor, she poisoned her student with a sleeping potion. Scathach and Aif fought for over an hour before Cú Chulainn awoke and joined the fray. Cú Chulainn was able to overcome Aif by tricking her and forcing her to promise to never attack Scathach again. Returning to Forgal Monach's home, Cú Chulainn found that Imir's father had already tried to marry her off to Lugaid mac Noe, the king of Munster. However, upon seeing the returned Cú Chulainn with his spear, Gae Bolg, the king of Munster fled in fear and terror, and Imir and Cú Chulainn became wed. 2 years later, Medib, queen of Connacht, invaded Ulster to steal their prized bull so that she could have the most powerful and tastiest cows in all of Ireland. To do this, she casted a spell on all of Ulster to give the kingdom stomach aches and began her invasion on the river. A lone figure was able to withstand the magic Queen Medib cast, Cú Chulainn. Knowing that he would not be able to stop an entire army, Cú Chulainn invoked the right of single combat with the army's champions. Forced to accept, Medib sent out champion after champion to fight Cú Chulainn, and one by one her army was defeated. After many challengers, Cú Chulainn began to become tired and was wounded in the water. He was then visited by his father, Lug, and told that he needed to keep fighting for his people. So Lug healed Cú Chulainn with the power of the water's healing. He also healed the troop of boys that Cú Chulainn beat in his earlier years and then later befriended. But the boys recklessly attacked the enemy forces and fell in combat. Cú Chulainn entered into a violent warp spasm, the worst he had ever been in before, his body contorting and his rage causing the river to boil away as he attacked Medib's army. He was an enraged beast as he tore through Medib's forces, taking vengeance for his childhood friends. As the fighting intensified, Cú Chulainn defeated hundreds of men until he finally found his foster brother, Ferdiad, who was fighting on Medib's forces. The two fought for 3 days straight in the water to a standstill. The fighting was ferocious. Ferdiad knowing the power of Gae Bolg and Cú Chulainn's brute strength, and Cú Chulainn knowing how powerful Ferdiad was and his technique with his fighting style. It wasn't until the third night before Cú Chulainn became the victor. Queen Medib's forces broke as the Ulstermen were able to overcome the Queen's magic and came pouring from the town to help the Hound of Ulster. However, seeing his enemies already beaten and not wanting to take their queen from them, Cú Chulainn took mercy on Medib and the Connacht people and allowed them to escape with their lives. Cú Chulainn then escorted them back to Connacht to ensure her safe delivery home. While this is not the end of Cú Chulainn's tale, it is where we will end today. Just as Cú Chulainn's life was short, so too will this tale be. Now, I did want to say thank you everybody for watching these videos and subscribing. If you have any recommendations for heroes, monsters, or maybe just an area of the world that you want me to find a hero from, and so I can teach you more about these heroes of the world, please comment down below. I want to go ahead and give you guys some quality content so we can make this the best channel ever. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.